The ending really frustrated me. It just left me with so many questions. So, or why am I gonna cry talking about this? Wow, I was not expecting that. Intense happened also in this story that I was not expecting, and I still don't know how I feel about it. This book honestly was so freaking good. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Welcome to another video. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about all the books that I've read over the past few months and kind of doing my reviews and ratings and thoughts and sharing them with you guys. So I'm going to be starting from August until now. So that's going to be August, September, October, all reads from those 3 months. There's not a lot, but I have, I think, like 10-ish. If you guys have read any of these books, you can let me know your thoughts and opinions, and we can talk about it in the comments. Anyways, that is all for the intro. Let's go ahead and get into the books that I've read in these past few months. Starting off, I have The Conditions of Will by Jessa Hastings. I've mentioned this in like every video I've done so far. Jessa Hastings is one of my favorite authors. I read The Magnolia Parks, which is up here by her, and I loved it so much. I love her writing so much. Her characters are so well written. I don't know, she just does a really good job of making you connect to the characters and feel for the characters, and I really love that series. So anyways, going into this, I was really excited. I had heard a few reviews prior to, kind of very mixed. I knew this was going to be a little bit different than the other series that I read by her. This tells a story of a woman named Georgia. She's moved away from her hometown, moved away from her family. She grew up in a very conservative family, and she did not agree with a lot of their beliefs, as well as her brother. Recently, the dad has passed away, and this is all in the little blurb here, so I'm not giving anything away, I promise. But they both decide to come home for their funeral, and the brother, so her brother Oliver is gay. He's also an alcoholic, so he's been in AA and he has a sponsor. And so while he goes back home, he decides to bring his sponsor, Sam, with him, because obviously dad has just died, so anything could happen at any point. He could fall back into addictions and everything. Lots of things happen, lots of family drama. It's kind of like a romance, but also fiction, because it just has a lot of character development, a lot of insight into how people think. Georgia is also an analyst, like for lie detecting. The things that they do while they're talking, she really picks up on things and can tell if someone's lying or like really what they're feeling. And so it's really interesting to see her perspective and like hear her thoughts about what people are thinking and what their motives are. It was very interesting. I feel like that was a very long explanation, but I don't know, I just love her writing so much. She just has always been one of my favorite authors, and as I was reading this, I would say it definitely started off a little bit slower than I was anticipating, but as I got like halfway through, the story started to pick up a lot, and I was really eager to know how it was going to finish, what was going to happen, and then we had a huge plot twist that I was not expecting. I really enjoyed this. I gave this 4 out of 5 stars. We also did see a little bit of connection with the Magnolia Park series, which I love. Definitely not my favorite from her, but overall, I still really enjoyed it. Next up, I read In 5 Years by Rebecca Surley, and I've had this on my TBR for so long, like honestly, probably 2 years before I got to it. And it's a super quick read. I think I ended up picking it for like my TBR for the month, and I was really happy I picked it because I was like, okay, I'm finally gonna get this book off of my shelf that I've had on here for so long, unread forever. And it's really short, so it's only like 250 pages, and it was actually on Kindle Unlimited too, which I always love when books are on Kindle because I feel like I can read them at any point in time. Like when I'm laying down, I don't have to be like set up to read it, which I know sounds very extra, but that's just how my mind works. I like things easy. This is the story of Danny. Starting off the story, she is engaged to this man that she's been with for a while. She ends up having a dream, and in this dream, she dreams that she is still engaged but to a different man. And so she wakes up from the dream, she's like, who is this man? Why am I engaged to someone completely different than I am right now? So she goes on this quest to try to figure out who this man is. This book was not what I was expecting. I feel like it kind of felt like a mystery the way that it was written. I was expecting a romance, I was expecting a love story, and that's just not what happened at all. We had another side plot with Danny's friend who was going through something really hard, and I feel like the story focused a lot more on that than like the main premise of the story. Like literally with the back, you would think this is fully focusing on the romance, and a huge chunk of this was just focused on the friend. Obviously it was super sad, and I just was not expecting the way that this took. The ending really frustrated me. It just left me with so many questions. So I feel like if the author would have actually taken the premise and stuck with that, it could have been a really, really good story. But because it veered off into something completely different, I was just thrown off and it made me not enjoy it. And maybe that's my own fault, I don't know, but on Goodreads, a lot of people said the same thing. So I feel like I was not alone in that. So this was a 2.5 out of 5 stars, which probably it's like a 2-star. I didn't really like it, unfortunately. The next book I read was A Curse for True Love by Stephanie Garber. This is the last book in the Once Upon a Broken Heart trilogy. I was so excited to finally finish this series because specifically I had this book on my shelf for so long and I've been reading the whole series for probably like 2 years at this point because I wanted to wait till all the paperbacks came out because there was like hardcovers, and so it took me a long time to finish it, and I was just very happy to finally get to this because I really, really enjoy the story as well. I'm not really going to give too much away because obviously it's the third book in a trilogy and a lot has happened leading up to where we started in this book, so I don't want to give a lot away. But overall, it was a very, very whimsical, very quick, very cozy fantasy, and I love the characters. I felt so connected. I was just so happy to be in this world again. So I highly recommend this series. It's super easy. It's a YA series, so it's very quick and easy to read, and you just feel like you know the character. Stephanie Garber does a very good job of like making you feel like you're in the story and you're watching it on the screen. I don't know. I just love her writing. This was also a 4 out of 5. I think I liked Ballad of Never After, which was the second book, the most, but this was still really good. Next up, I read Hello Stranger by Catherine Center. I read this super quickly. I took a trip to Arizona, so I read it on the plane there and back, and I honestly really enjoyed this story. This is the second book that I read by Catherine Center. I read Things You Save in a Fire by her, and that was also like pretty good. This tells the story of Sadie. She has facial blindness after she gets into some kind of accident. She ends up with facial blindness, and she is a portrait artist, so naturally she can't paint or draw anymore because she can't see people's faces. She ends up having this like huge competition she's entering for. She needs to draw someone for it. So she meets a man and she decides that she wants to draw this man. I don't want to tell anything else from there, but I really like this story a lot. I love that it was closed door romance. There was no spice. Like thinking back to this, I actually really enjoyed this more than I thought that I did. I rated it 3.5 stars, but I just really, really liked this. I don't know why. I'm like thinking about it. Like, I think I liked it more than that. I would say this is like a solid 4 star. I'm really excited to read more of her books. I thought I had another book by her, but maybe I don't. I honestly really recommend this. I think it's because I read it so fast that it was just like, okay, yeah, it was a good book. But thinking back to it, I really have like really good memories of when I was reading this. So it's very, very fast paced. Her writing is super easy to read and get through and just very engaging. So highly recommend this one. Super good. We also did get a good amount of character development with that too, with like Sadie's parents and her stepmom and her sister, so that was really cool to see as well. The next book I read was Fearless by Lauren Roberts, another book in a trilogy that I was really excited to finish because I had been reading it since the first book originally came out, which was like 2 years ago. So I've been definitely reading this series for a minute, and this had been on my shelf since April, so I was very happy to finally get to it in September. Again, third book in the trilogy, so I can't really explain too much, but again, really enjoyed this. I feel like we had a lot of good books the past few months. We got to find out a lot about the family, how all of that came about. Something really intense happened also in this story that I was not expecting, and I still don't know how I feel about it. Overall, very, very good story. I rated this 4.25 out of 5. I cannot recommend this trilogy enough, especially there's also 2 novellas. Powerful, which is the one right after Powerless. You guys, that was a 5-star novella that tells the story of Adina, which is Peyton's friend. And I just remember reading that book and like sobbing my eyes out because of how good it was. And Adina is just such a good character, and I love her. I do have Fearful, which is the novella after this one, which I've yet to read, so I didn't technically like completely finish the series yet. I want to read this very soon. It's only like 200 pages, so I definitely would like to read it by the end of this year. I'm curious to see what Lauren Roberts is going to come out with next because this was like her novel debut series, and so I'm really curious to see what she writes after this. A lot of these books I'm about to talk about are on Kindle Unlimited. I'm pretty sure at least most of them are on Kindle Unlimited, but I don't have a physical copy because I read them on my Kindle. So I am a Christian, if it wasn't obvious. I read a lot of Christian fiction, and I've definitely been coming into that a lot more recently, wanting to develop my knowledge and wisdom about God and, how he created us and how we are made to be in this world. I've been wanting to read a lot more about that, and I also knew that I was getting engaged soon, so it was really important to me to grow my knowledge about marriage. And so I started reading the first book in this genre that I started reading Love and Respect, which is a book by Dr. Emerson Eggerichs. If you are married or if you're in a relationship, honestly, any kind of relationship at all, no matter what age you are, I think this book is so important to read because it truly broke down the importance and the roles that God has created man and woman to play in a marriage and in a relationship. God created women to love others and love their spouse, and that's pretty much all they need is to feel loved. God created men with a need to be respected by their wives and by others, and to see the author bring in so many different stories of like how this worked in a relationship, and like showing your husband respect and the husband showing their wives love each and every day. It's so true. Like at the end of the day, this is like the basic principle for a relationship. Whether you're even a Christian or not, like I feel like this is so important. Like the man wants to be respected, by the way. That is hands down like the most basic way to put it. I just cannot recommend this book enough. It definitely opened my eyes to what a marriage means and how important it is for these to be a key role in a relationship and in a marriage. I just really enjoyed the book. So I highly, highly recommend this book if you are in a relationship of any kind, or or you want to prepare yourself to be in a relationship. It's really, really good. Didn't even put it on this list. I read Sacred Marriage also. That's actually a book I read before Love and Respect because I had met my boyfriend and we had been dating for a few months, and it was just kind of like, okay, yeah, we're going to get engaged here very soon. I started reading that. We both started reading that. That one was really good too. I actually took some notes on it. We were both really able to learn and know like what a marriage entails, like a godly marriage, a marriage that is Christ-centered, and what that is going to look like and how to be successful in that way. It was pretty similar to Love and Respect, but it was nice to hear it from both like two different perspectives. Sacred Marriage is by Gary Thomas. Yeah, very, very popular like premarital book. While we're on that topic, I guess my fiance and I did start premarital counseling, and our premarital counselor recommended his and her needs. I have started reading it. I'm not that far into it yet, but I definitely will be reading this as well. So this is by Willard F. Harley Jr. I'm excited to see how that one goes. All of these are based on like biblical truths, how God has designed marriage and created marriage, because at the end of the day, it is about respect. It is about submission. It is about serving. Marriage is literally a direct representation of what our relationship should be with God. It's so crazy because I never understood any of this before I was a Christian, and to now see the beauty in marriage and that it is a covenant between not only two people but also like God as well. It's really cool to see how this is like depicted in books and what we can learn from that, and how much the Bible does talk about marriage too. So the next one that I read was Garden City by John Mark Comer. I've heard of this author before, but this was the first book that I've ever read by him. This is kind of just a discussion about work and why God created work and why we need to work, what it means to work, who we are serving when we work, not only serving God, but also serving others. Like that's why God has called us here, is to serve him and serve others, make his name known. And we can do that in any kind of job we have. It doesn't have to be in ministry. It doesn't have to be a pastor. It doesn't have to be like at the church. What an ideal way of serving God would look like. It's in everything. I'm a dental hygienist, and honestly, I do not like my job. So I really wanted to read this because I was like, okay, obviously God has put me in this position right now for a reason. And how can I change my mindset? How can God change my mindset to be like, I'm doing this not only for an income, but also for him and for others. At my job, I might not love it, but I am ultimately like giving care to others, and I am serving the population. So I was just really struggling with my job. I've always struggled with my job, but especially around this time. So I think this book really helped me to see like why he's placed me in this position. And it's really funny because the author like mentioned a dental hygienist and how to not have a negative mindset over like the job that I have. And it was just like God was like literally speaking to me in that moment, and I read this book for a reason. It also talked about like if you don't feel like you are where you're meant to be, how to kind of take the steps of moving forward, of getting out of that. So that also spoke to me a lot, because it was like, okay, like, what do you love doing? What do you feel that God has called you to do? It also talked about the Sabbath, which is something that I wanted to implement a lot more, especially like going into marriage. I think that Josh and I both have talked about that Sabbath is something that's really important to us, and like just fully taking a day of rest and honoring God in that way. I don't know, just being very intentional about restfulness. I mean, when we're constantly busy doing things all the time, we're not able to like reflect and see and just rest and see like all the fruit that has come from our lives. Something I wrote was, work as if working for the Lord, and we will be rewarded in the world that is after heaven, after resurrection. I mean, God knows our heart, God knows our intentions, God knows that like what we are doing, if we have a heart posture that, okay, what I'm doing is for God, then he's going to reward that to us in heaven. Greatness and happiness comes out of serving others, which is so true. Even if we don't feel like volunteering or going out and serving others or working, at the end of the day, it makes you feel really good when you know that like you changed someone's life, that you impacted someone in a positive way. And to stop having that mindset of, well, how can I be served? How can someone benefit me? Like, no, that's not what Jesus did. Jesus served others wholeheartedly because he loved them. This book was really, really good. I didn't rate it, but I would probably say like a 4.5 out of 5 stars. It was really good. I'm excited to read more of John Comer's books. Okay, and then the last Christian book that I have on this list is The Great Divorce. I just got chills reading that. Wow. Or I just got chills saying that. But this book, honestly, was so freaking good. This is by C.S. Lewis. This is the first book I've ever read by him, and I've heard so many good things about his books, so I was really eager to get into one of his books. And or why am I gonna cry talking about this? Wow, I was not expecting that. I just can't even explain like the impact that this had on me. Guys, I don't even know how to describe this book. So it was a bus ride to heaven, the character of the ghost and the spirit. A lot of great analogies of what it looks like to delight / idolize in evil and cling on to what the world has to offer rather than placing your trust and hope into someone greater, Jesus Christ. Our treasures are laid in heaven. It's not about all the earthly, worldly things that you can get on this earth, because you're not taking that to heaven. This is probably one of my favorite things about the book, is that it showed how the mind of a non-believer works and what they think that God is like and what they view heaven as. It then like obviously went to tell like, no, that's not how it is, but it did it in such a beautiful way. Oh, you guys, like, please read this book. Please, I'm begging you, please read this book. You need to. As believers, we know earth to be the closest thing to heaven, and non-believers know the earth to be a living hell, and they think that sin is okay because the consequences are incomprehensible. I think it's okay to sin because it's like, oh, it's okay, God will forgive me. Like, oh, I'm forgiven. But we as a believer, you know that you're going to get to that point where you do have to tell God everything you did and why you did it. But as non-believers, like, they don't even understand what that means. If there's anything you guys take out of this video, you need to read this book. This was a 5-star. There's so many things that I highlighted because they were just so important and so impactful. I need to pick up the physical copy of this and like reread this every year, because honestly, it was that good. I don't know what else to say, you guys. This book was amazing, and I'm really, really excited to get into more of his books. Like, I know why now. I know why he is so raved about, because I mean, this was obviously the first book I read by him, and it was amazing. I think that is everything. I also started to go from that to this is crazy, but I also started Redeeming Six by Chloe Walsh. This is the 4th book in the Boys of Tommen series. I started this in September, and I have been very iffy about continuing it. I'm listening to the audiobook currently. The only thing about the series is the amount of spice in it. I mean, I feel very convicted when I read it. I don't like how it makes me feel. I just don't like spice. If you like spice, that's great. I cannot do it anymore. I have been very slow to continue this, but I mean, honestly, the beginning was really bad. Like, I will say the beginning was very heavily spicy, but as I've continued it, I'm about like 55. Sorry, the lighting is going all over the place, but I'm about like 55% through now, and it's not as bad. I love the characters. I love the storyline. It's very, very sad, very heartbreaking, but I really want to know like what happens in the series and how it continues, because there's like 2 more books after this. I want to finish it because I'm invested, obviously. If there's any spice scenes or anything, I always just skip over it. I've been skipping over it because I just can't do it. So that is how I feel personally. If you like it, that's great. It's not for me. Okay guys, those are all of the books that I've been reading since August. I definitely did not read as many as I wanted to, but that's okay. I am still happy. I'm just happy to be reading in general, honestly. That is all for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, be sure to give a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. If you guys have any book recommendations or if you've read any of these books, comment down below. I'd love to chat with you. I love talking to you guys in the comments. So thank you so much for being here. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you in my next one. Bye guys.